Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. First of all, I would like to thank Ahmed for his kind words on my previous video, in which I talked about how Jewish trauma shaped the foundations of the modern state of Israel. And I thought, okay, a lot of people seem to have a lot of different misconceptions about how the state of Israel was established. And a lot of people also seem to have some misconceptions about this entire conflict. So I thought today I would like to talk about this topic. Um, the reason for these misconceptions, in my humble opinion, is that we look at the world, or we find out about the world rather, because of the news media, right? And most news media houses happen to be Western, right? So these Western news media outlets, I won't even say that they are biased deliberately. However, they obviously have their own perspective, their own way of looking at the world, which obviously plays a great role in shaping the narrative. Uh, so, with this out of the way, there might be other reasons as well. But with this out of the way, I would like to start off by talking about what are the common misconceptions about the Israel-Palestine conflict, and maybe to dispel them. Now, one of the most common misconceptions which I have heard about this topic is that this is about race, right? That this conflict between Israel and Palestine, especially according to Americans who are on the left wing of the political spectrum, is that it is a settler colonial conflict, and this entire thing is about a bunch of white people who happen to be Jewish taking over the land of brown people who happen to be Muslims. So this is framed as a white and brown and colonial terms, and honestly speaking, nothing could be further from the truth. Yes, modern Israel today has a lot of people who are known as Ashkenazi Jews. These are Jews whose grandparents or sometimes parents were from Europe, and therefore they have European complexion and European features. People like Paul Rudd, Scarlett Johansson, Natalie Portman, Ben Shapiro are examples of people who are Ashkenazi Jewish in nature. However, modern day Israel also has a lot of people who are Sephardic Jews. Now, Sephardic Jews are Jews who trace their ancestry back to the Middle East, right? So they are Middle Eastern Jews and obviously then have the same quote unquote race as the Arabs do. Similarly, there are Jews who are known as Bene Israeli or the children of Israel. So these are Indian Jews. So obviously they have Indian features. And add to that, there are also Ethiopian Jews who are black. Point being that there are Jews in every color in the world, ranging from European white to Ethiopian black, and every color in the middle. So, no, this conflict has nothing to do with race. There are different types, there are people with different skin complexions on both sides of the issue. Second thing that is maybe not talked about enough is that the role played by religion. So the West often tends to note down the religion as like a side note in this entire conflict, right? And why? Because for white people, for white Christians today, religion does not play that big a role. I personally lived in Germany for 6 years, and many people told me that they were no longer Catholic on paper because they did not want to pay the taxes which come with being Catholic in Germany. So they have a very relaxed and casual attitude about religion. I could walk the streets of any German city and criticize Jesus, and no one will care. Literally, no one will care. Maybe a few angry glances, but beyond that, I don't see anything much happening to me. So, because Europeans today don't take their own religion seriously, they don't think that other people take their religion seriously as well. And again, nothing could be further from the truth. Israel has a mixed population, as in some people in Israel are religious Jews, or what you would call Orthodox Jews, or what you would call Hasidic Jews. But there are also a big chunk of Jews who are known as secular Jews. So Robert Oppenheimer, Albert Einstein would be examples of those people who would say we're Jewish, but I doubt that they would take the Talmud or the Torah quite seriously, right? So Israel is a mixed population, but the Orthodox Jews take Judaism very, very seriously. And even those Jews who don't maybe take their Judaism too seriously, they still believe, a lot of them still continue to believe that they are people chosen by God, that they have been historically oppressed, and that they deserve their homeland in Jerusalem. And same goes for the Muslims. Now, of all the religions in the world, I don't think anyone takes their religion as seriously as the Muslims do, right? Like, so for example, I, as a Hindu, could in principle criticize Hinduism in India, and as long as I do it in a polite, respectful manner, most likely nothing will happen to me. A white Christian could say whatever he wants about Jesus, even make some filthy jokes, and nothing would happen to him. On the other hand, this kind of freedom is does not exist in the Middle East. There are official laws against blasphemy and apostasy, public floggings. So their religion is taken very, very seriously. And because of that, it is important to know what both religions say, simply because that is what is mentioned in the religion. And this conflict, to be honest, is religious in nature because of the things which have been mentioned in the religious books of both Jews as well as Muslims. And this is part of this conflict. Third thing is that it is a localized political struggle, and so often is people think of the conflict between Israel and Palestine as between these two kind of countries, and they're like, "Oh, come on, stop going to war. Just find a two-state solution." Two-state solution is parroted by people who have like a surface level understanding of the issue, or they've heard it from somewhere, so they just blurt it out. Heard it from somewhere, blurt it out like two-state solution, two-state solution. Everyone lives happily. Everyone holds hands, sings kumbaya. It doesn't happen that like that, right? It does not happen like that. Why do I say this? Because, and this brings me to my fourth point, which is that the issue of Palestine as a state itself, because one needs to understand is that how were Arab lands delineated into various countries and states. So, for example, why is there a Syria? Why is there a Lebanon? Why is there a Palestine? In fact, because if you look at these people in terms of their culture, it's not that different. So, what is it that demarcates France and Germany? It is that they have clearly a different language. It's a completely different cultural tradition, obviously with the overarching European commonality. Similarly, in India, right, when India was divided between India and Pakistan, it was divided on the basis of religion. While I personally am again, I think this was wrong and this was a bad thing for the subcontinent. It did happen, and it made some level of sense. However, when the British partitioned India, and similarly when the British partitioned Afghanistan and Pakistan, they drew arbitrary lines on the map, and then they delineated that, hey, from today, this area is now Pakistan, and this area is now Afghanistan. What was the consequence? The consequence was that there was an ethnic Pashto, there was an ethnic population of Pashtuns living. So what happened is that there Pashtun or Pathans, right? So what happened is that there was a Durand line drawn between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and there are Pathans on both sides of the border. So many times it would happen is that I'm on this side, and my close family, so like my father's brother or something like this, they're on the other side. So they divided people who had literally family, and this caused massive problems. And the same thing happened in the Middle East as well, where arbitrary lines were drawn by the white man on a map, leading to mass divisions. And because of this, the Israel Palestine conflict is not localized, and it is intimately tied with all the other players in the region. For the simple reason is that the so what is it you need to really think about this, like what is it that truly separates Syria and Lebanon, or Lebanon and Palestine, or Palestine and Jordan? They have the same language, they have the same religion, they have a very, very, very similar culture. These are all Arabs, Muslim Arabs at the end of the day, right? uh, and whereas the Jews have their own very, very different culture. And because of this, one needs to understand that there is an inordinate amount of focus that is on this issue. So, for example, the Pakistan and Afghanistan, there are constant border disputes, right? The South Sudan, North Sudan, there is a brutal war going on there, civil war. No one cares. Similarly, there is a conflict going on between Saudi Arabia and Yemen, even as we speak today, right? And look at the amount of press coverage that these things get, and look at the outsized press coverage that Israel and Palestine get. Not saying that it's a good thing, right? War is horrible. Can't say that enough. War is horrible no matter where it happens and who it happens to. But then people are not fair in their coverage of this. Similarly, like if you look at Iran and Saudi Arabia, these two countries are diametrically opposed on almost every issue. Yet, for example, when it comes to the issue of Israel and Palestine, everyone seems to be united, which goes away from the fact that it is in fact a political struggle at all and more of a religious one. So, for example, why would Pakistan be involved in any kind of a political mess with Israel, a country which borders Egypt? There's literally no relation. So what I'm saying is Pakistan and India have fought four brutal, bloody wars with each other, and we still have diplomatic relations with each other. But Pakistan does not have diplomatic relations with Israel. They may have their political disagreements with them, right? But you fight a war with a country and still have diplomatic relations with someone, but you don't have even diplomatic relations with someone just because of some random political differences. It makes no sense if you keep looking at it through the lens of politics. But if you're looking at it from the lens of religion, it makes a lot of sense. The last point that I like to make is one about ethnic cleansing, and this is one of the most controversial. And this is one where I think even Israel deserves some criticism. Because the truth of the matter is that people who wish to be apologists for Israel and just say, oh, everything Israel does is correct, are wrong. Because even in the West Bank, Israel is encroaching that territory, an action which has been soundly criticized by the UN itself. And that is wrong. If you're taking land from people and displacing them, that is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong. But the very important caveat that if you are going to talk about the ethnic cleansing, which I'm not saying that there's ethnic cleansing going on, by the way, right? Because just because you displace some people from one place, maybe ethnic cleansing, but I don't know exactly where the bar is set for ethnic cleansing. Anyway, Palestinians call it the Nakba or the great tragedy, and it is a horrible tragedy. And like my deepest sympathies to those people. But what no one talks about is that there is a two-way ethnic cleansing. What do I mean by that? Is that much the same way that Palestinians were displaced from this region, similarly, Jews are and were being displaced from all over the Middle East. And if you want to talk about the real ethnic cleansing, look at how the Jewish populations in various countries in the Middle East have plummeted over the years. Like just in the last 60 or 70 or 100 years, look at the way Jewish populations in countries of the Middle East have plummeted. So, and this is what happens, right? Because in every war, there is displacement. People get displaced, right? Because obviously, if India and Pakistan fight a war and it's a massive, brutal war, I hope this never happens. But if hypothetically there is war, obviously, due to the large movement of troops, people will get displaced. When Germany and Russia and or formerly Soviet Union fought the bloody brutal war, people got displaced all the time, including ethnic Germans, including ethnic Russians, including all kinds of people who were just caught in the crossfire, like the poor Polish ones. So this is another misconception that people need to talk about a two-way ethnic cleansing. And people who say that there's a genocide going on, yeah, no. Thank you very much. Continue to like, share, and subscribe.